getting started with the platform, iPlus Interactive. We're happy to have you here today on this beginning of the school year during a heat wave after a day's work. We really appreciate you being here with us today. Hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions throughout the workshop. But just to present myself, my name is Sophie Barassa. I'm one of your consultants. I'm accompanied by my colleague, Caroline Castonguay, who will be the presenter today.
Thanks, Sophie. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great back to school. I'm happy to see you today. As Sophie was mentioning, we're having quite a busy agenda today. So first of all, what we're going to be looking at will be the account transfer from the ERPI space to the iPlus Interactive platform. Then we will be taking a look at the account creation and the product activation. And most of our workshop will be on the group management and students account and the different tools made available to you to be used in the classroom this year. So let's start together. The ERPI space, as you might know, has moved on to a new platform called iPlus Interactive. So now the new address that you have to keep in your favorites into your web navigator will be iplusinteractive.ca. That's the address to access your different products with ERPI and as well Chenelière Éducation. You'll see that in the login page or the welcome page, at any time you can go up onto the right top corner of the screen and press the help button. That will give you access to our colleagues at the technical support team. You can reach them by email, through a form, by chat or by phone. And the wonderful thing is that if you have any students at home that are experiencing some issues, you can refer them to the technical support team. They'll be able to answer their questions. Before we go into the different components and different tools that are made available to you within that new platform, I'd like to take a few minutes to take a look at different scenarios that might apply to you in regards to the transfer of the ERPI Space platform onto iPlus Interactive. The first scenario that might apply to you is the following. So you did have an ERPI Space account before going off to summer, and you had either one or many products still active onto that platform. And as well, you had created an account on iplusinteractive.ca during the spring because you had the time to get acquainted with the new platform, and you were as well with us in one of the workshops that we gave out, or that you're using, for example, a product from Chenelière Éducation with whom we share the same platform. So if you've got those two accounts that share the same email address, so the same username, what we did is we took all of your products that you had in the ERPI space and we transferred them automatically onto your iPlus Interactive platform. Now you will need, obviously, to use your iPlus Interactive password to access the account and those products. If you're like me, during the summer, you might have forgotten your password. Not a problem. What you can do is you can just go onto the login page, and at the bottom, it just asks you to click on Forgot Your Password. What we'll do is we'll send you an email onto which you will be asked to reinitiate your password. The second scenario that might apply to you is that you had an ERPI Space account onto which you had one or many products that were still active as of August 1st, but you did not create yourself an account onto the iPlus Interactive platform. What we did is we created you an account automatically on the iPlus Interactive, and we forwarded all of your products that were still active onto that new platform. Now, to access those products that might still be available or not expired yet, you have received by July, end of July, beginning of August, an email asking you to create a password to access your iPlus Interactive account. So it might look like this. And if I may suggest, please look into your your email, your general email, but look as well into your junk mailbox. It might have fallen into those emails. The last scenario is the following. You had an ERPI account, so ERPI Space account, but all of your products expired during the summer, or you are a new user of our products. Then what you need to do is you need to create an iPlus Interactive account. We'll take a look in a few seconds at the different steps to actually follow in regards to creating an account. If any of those three scenarios do not apply to you and you're still having issues, please try to get in touch with the technical support team or reach back to either Sophie or I, and we'll gladly be of help in that regards. Sophie, before we go on to the account creation and the product activation, do we have any questions in regards to the transfer of platform from ERPI Space to the iPlus Interactive?
No, we don't, Carolyn. Thank you.
Okay. Wonderful. So let's take a look at how to create an account onto the new platform and how to activate your digital product. Before going out to summer, you must, or you probably gave out your choices of workbooks to your administration, and as well any teachers' resources that you wanted to use for this school year. I might just have a quick note in that regards as well. Please note that when you order workbooks for your whole classroom, the teacher's edition or the teacher's access code doesn't come automatically with that order. You need to place an order specifically for any teacher's resources, let there be print or digital access. There's still time to order your digital didactic set if you haven't done so. Once you do so, your administration should have received what looks like this, a little cardboard onto which you have your access code, which should be found at the bottom right-hand corner of that specific cardboard. Once you create your account, please on the same cardboard, write down your email address, which is your username, and your password, and keep that with you, and perhaps make a photocopy and give out a copy to your administration. So if God forbid, if you have to be absent, at least your replacement teacher will be able to access the digital didactic set and continue the learning with your students. So once you've received that specific cardboard with the code, you need to go onto the iplusinteractive.ca, as we mentioned, which is your new entryway, which you should save, as I was mentioning earlier, onto your favorites on your web navigator. Then, because it's a first time use, please go at the bottom and click on register. Once you click onto register, a window will open up and we'll be asking you to enter your first name, your last name, your email address. So if you could just put your school board email address in that specific place. Password. So the password, you need to have at least 8 characters, 1 capital letter, 1 small letter, a number, and a special character. So for example, a question mark or any like a number sign, for example. And then it's going to ask you to confirm that password. Once you've done that, just click at the bottom on register, and it will ask you to enter your activation code. So that's the code that I was mentioning that you receive by mail on your little cardboard. Then you can just click add, and will open up your digital library onto which you're going to find all of the products that you've activated. So as you can see here in my digital library, I've got a few products. If I wanted to add any products, pretty easy. I would go at the very left top corner. I would click on add a product right there. And at any time, you could as well contact the technical support team on the top right-hand corner with the question mark, and as well your profile on the top right-hand corner as well. One extra thing that we added, which is very interesting, is the expiration date. So at the bottom of the actual cover page of your workbook, you'll see that you've got the expiration date. So for example, here it expires April 24th, 2024. Before we go on to the group management and the students access code, do we have any questions in regards to the account creation and the product activation? I saw a raise of hand a bit earlier.
Thank you, Carolyn. Please, as I said at the beginning of the workshop, please save the raising of the hand function at the end of the workshop. During the workshop, we'll take your questions in the Q&R section. And I did have a question, I did answer, but just to let you know, anything that regards to the student accounts, the codes and all, Carolyn will talk to that at it's the last point of our
We're actually going to take a look
today.
at it.
Oh, right now?
We're actually going to take a look at it in a few seconds.
Okay.
We're going to take a look at the group management, and then I'll show everyone how to actually activate the students code.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carol.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
So what I'll do is I'll just escape from there, and I will go onto the platform right away. There we go. So your entryway, as I was mentioning, it's iplusinteractive.ca. I'm going to enter my username here, which is this, and my little fruit bug, sorry, and my password. So as you can see, I have many products in my digital library. For today's sake, we will be taking numbers grade 3, but keep in mind that all of the products will pretty much be structured the same in regards to whether you're using waypoints or whether you're using the French version of any of those products. So let's click on numbers. As I was mentioning, we'll get into the product itself and the different tools made available to you at the very end of the presentation. But right now, what would be of interest would be the group management. Okay, so to create a group, you would go onto the right-hand corner over here. See what you've got, the 3 persona right here. You have access to that same icon at the very top left-hand corner of the screen. So you can either click on the actual toolbar over here or go directly on the right-hand side and click on the 3 little persona. That will open up my group page. Why would I want to create a group? It's simply to be able to unlock the actual workbook for your students. So they'd be able to actually do some activities at home, right within their actual workbook, and you'd be able to go and see the work that they do in their actual workbook itself. To do so, you first of all need to create a group, and 2 options are being offered to you. If you go on the top left-hand corner, you'll see that I've got a pick list over here. So I already have a group that's been created, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. I want to show you how to create a group. So I'll click on the pick list and then see what happens right there. I've got a little round button with a plus. It says add a group. So I'm going to click on that. And then I've got 2 options. I've got the possibility of creating a group, a generic group or a customized group. The generic group will create a group with generic names, so élève 01, élève 02, and the customized one will allow you to take the list of your students' name and then push it onto the actual system. So let's take a look at the generic option first of all, and then we'll come back to the customized one. So if I click on generic and then I click at the bottom onto continue, then it's going to ask me to name that group. So I'm going to name it Miss Caroline. This year I've got 18 kids in my actual class, and I want for all of the kids to have the same password. That's quite different from last year in regards to the different steps of the group creation, and you'll see how easy it actually makes it for you. So once you've done that, you've named your group, you've added the number of students, and you've created a group password, you click onto continue. That will ask you then which of the books available in my digital version of the library do I want to share with my kids. In this case, because we're actually looking at numbers 3, I'm going to be selecting numbers 3 and then click on to save. And then you'll see that the system actually generates a group of 18 students. Student names, they're random, so they're generic. Élève 01, élève 02. These will be eventually, we're looking into it to make it student 01, student 02. So we'll keep you posted when that's being fixed with the web. And as you can see, the password for my users will be the same. As soon as I do create a group, at the bottom left corner, if you follow my mouse over here, you'll see a chain within that blue box. If you click on that, it's going to show you what is the group code that you need to share with your students so that the students can actually link or join your group. We'll go into much detail a bit further on in regards to how exactly the kid needs to write down that group number. Okay, so if I'm just closing that, once you've created your group, you don't remember where the group code is, just go at the bottom left hand corner and then click on what looks like a chain and it will just open up again. Okay. At any time in regards to that generic group that I just created, I could add a student. So I could just go at the right hand side of the screen over here and click on add student. Then I could just write, if I want to follow that specific section, I could just write élève 0 or élève 20. And then the password is already generated. And if I want, sorry, I'm just going to click on cancel. And if I want to remove, I could remove a student at any point in time during the year. It really is simple. So I could just come here, click on remove, and then it's going to ask me, do you really want to remove that student from the group? So I would say either cancel or remove. So in this case, I'm just going to click cancel. So that's the first way of creating our group. It's the generic one. For the purpose of today, what I'll do is I'll show you as well how you could change or make little changes in regards to your group. If you go on the left-hand side with the little wheel over here, that opens up the group settings and it allows you to actually, for example, make available another book that you'd like to share with that specific group, change the general password, or change the group name. In this case, I just want to delete the group because I don't need it. Okay. I'll show you how to create the customized group, which I find is the easiest way to work and go around. So again, if you come back to your 3 little persona, on the left-hand side, you click the menu over here. You click on Add a Group. Then you would select Customize and click on Continue. Now, this allows you to name your group. Okay, so I could call it again Miss Carolyn, for example. And it asks me to actually import or drag an Excel file with the name of my students and generate a password. I'll show you. What I would strongly suggest is that you use what we have here as a framework, like Gabarit. If you click on it, it's going to open up. You need to go and find it into your downloads. And it gives you a framework. So basically, it asks you to follow that setting. So write the family name, sorry, of your student, the first name of your student, and then the password. You could create a different password for all of your students, but I would personally just use the same password for everyone. Okay, so once you filled that up and you saved it onto your computer, you can actually just import it or drag it directly onto the customized window. And what that does, I'm just going to close that up. It generates automatically your list. Remember earlier we had a generic, so the student name was élève 01, élève 02. In this case, it really is going from what I gave out as a framework. So I've got Tom Aris, Ben Fletcher, for example, and then the username of those kids have been generated in such a way that you've got the first name and then the first letter of the last name. So that's done automatically. And then the password, remember, I decided to have the same password for everyone. I could have decided as well to make it different if I wish to do so. Same thing as we've seen earlier. So as soon as I create a group, in this case, the customized group from an Excel sheet info that I have, at the bottom left-hand corner will appear this little chain over here. If you click on it, it will generate a different group code. So that code is different from the one that I generated with the generic group that we've seen previously. That would still be the same thing. I would need to share that code with my kids, my students, for them to be able to join my group. Okay. Same thing at any time or point, I could add a student. And then in this case, I could just put their last name, first name, username, and password, and then click on continue. And I could remove as well on the right-hand side over here, a student. If for any reason I've made a mistake and I want to actually I don't want to remove the student, I just want to modify any information, I just go onto what looks like a little pen and a kind of a cardboard, click on it, and it allows me to edit the student's information. So for example, if Aris, it's with an H, then I can just do it like that and then click continue and see I've got it here that is actually being corrected. You probably noticed as well this year, the way it actually is put down, it is in alphabetical order of the last name, which makes it a lot easier if we compare it to last year. So that's a resume of how to create a group. I just want to remind you. So for example, we were onto our page of the series that we're working with, and we came either with the toolbar at the top of the screen, or we came over here on the right-hand side and we clicked on the 3 persona. And we created our group, and we are allowed to actually go and take a look at the different groups that we might have created with the pick list over here. Now, let's see how your kids can actually join in your group and how they can activate their own digital product. First of all, 2 things might happen this year. You might have some workbooks onto which you have a sticker like this. I hope you can see properly. The code will be present on the sticker, or some other kids might have a workbook onto which within their workbook, workbook A, for example, for decimal, you'll have a page like this, which is blue, onto which you'll have as well, the kids will find a code. Both of those codes are 8-digit and they are valid. So the steps that I will be showing you in a few minutes are as well good either for the one with the sticker or the one with a cardboard in it. So to go on to the student's account, they need to go onto this address, which is myiplus.ca. So myiplus.ca. Sophie can perhaps share the info in the chat or in the Q&A section. We'll show you as well how to get the information at the end of the workshop. We'll give you a sheet that explains the procedure to follow for the kids to create their account and to join in your group. So here, the myiplus.ca, the kids get into it. They need to put in the group code. Remember, the group code is the one that just popped up when we clicked onto the little chain. It was super big. So I've taken one down. So 194, for example, 305. The username, so the kid onto which account I want to log in would be Sophie G. And the password for that group that I gave my students will be 2023. And then the kid can just log in. Now, you can see I'm in Sophie's account, which is my daughter's account, which has the same name as my colleague. So it says, hello, Sophie, welcome to your account. You have access to numbers grade 3. So I've actually activated already my product here, but your kids will see something that's kind of shaded. And when they click on it, it's going to ask them to enter their activation key, which is the one that I just shown you either on the sticker or within the actual workbook itself. So when the kids get into that page, they can see at the top right-hand corner, they're in Carolyn's class, okay? And if they click on the product, that's what they have access to. Now, the different tools will be different depending on the series onto which you're working and what you're using. So for example, the kids will definitely have access to the full content of their workbook. So if they use numbers, they will have access to workbook A, workbook B, and as well the reference book. Same thing for digit, same thing for decimal. If they're using waypoints, then it's going to be only one workbook and it's going to be waypoints over here. To enter in the workbook, they can just click on to open. And that's going to give them access directly to their workbook. As you can see, it actually opened it up to the last page onto which my Sophie did her work. And it allows her to actually go in and type the answers. So how that would be interesting is that if, for example, you've got a student that's sick, that's at home, that's away for a few days, they still want to do some of the activities in their workbook and you want to see their work, then they can come in and use the different tools and write directly in their workbook. And then I'll show you a bit later on how you as a teacher can access the actual workbook itself. Okay. So they have access to the workbook. They have access to the games. So the exercises and games. For those who've been using either digit, decimals, or numbers for the last couple of years, that will look familiar to you. These activities, you don't have a feedback onto it, so you wouldn't be able to know how many times your students have done the activity or what the results are. However, it is still something that the kids can access at home to do extra activities. And if I'm just looking at my daughters, they are thrilled when I open up this section and have them work onto the computer. So basically here, you need to, the kids will have to find the right answer. They get a noto feedback, so that's really interesting when they click on correction. If they have the wrong answer, so if I click on next, if they have the wrong answer, they'll have a feedback as well. So for example, if I click here and I click correction, same thing. I could redo that activity over and over again using on the left-hand side the little arrow, so as a refresh button, and those activities will be completely different. So that's a nice thing, and that's one of the reasons why you'd want to create a group, and you'd like for the kids to actually activate their code within their workbook. I'll show you as well how you could, for example, share with them answers to the workbook, how you could share some of the audio in regards to their arithmetics or math workout in a few minutes. Do we have any questions, Sophie, in regards to how the kids can activate their actual access and how I can create as a teacher a classroom or a virtual group?
Well, actually, we had a few questions on creating a class.
Yep.
So I did answer most of the questions on the Q&R, but just for the benefit of the other attendees, we were asked if we use the generic format, can we change the username one by one?
Yes,
And I
you
believe
can.
we can. That's what I answered. So if you prefer the quick way and use the generic format to create your class, you can do so, and then use the pencil on the right-hand side to modify the username for each student. You just need to remember who's who, right?
Yeah.
So that
So
was
for
one
example,
question. Yeah, go ahead.
I can just go through that because we still have some time. So if I click on generic over here and then we just click on continue, yeah, for sure. If I just name that Caroline, for example, sorry, and then I've got 2 students, I've got the same password, and I'm gonna just share numbers 3 with them. There you go. I could just go over here and, for example, élève 2, I want to switch that, as Sophie was mentioning. Just click on the pen and then you can just go like that and write, for example, Sophie, and then continue, and it will just switch it up automatically. Oops, you're on mute, Sophie.
Sorry, thank you. Another
Problem.
question that was interesting and might relate to others, maybe others had the question. First of all, do we need to use the Excel worksheet that is provided when you want to customize or personalize your class? And yes, you do have to do so. You do so. So you need to use the Gabarit Excel spreadsheet. But you can't enter the names by hand by typing it in. You don't have to do a copy paste and all that. So you can do whichever way you want. There was also a question on the bottom left-hand corner where you see the chain. If you don't see, if you click on the chain, this is what you will see in the middle of your screen. Some teachers see just the four arrows. If you click on the 4, and it happens that we don't see it on your screen now, Carolyn, but if you see one or the other, you should be able to have the group code jump in front of your screen. If you do not see that, please use the 3 dots on the navigation bar on the upper right-hand corner. You have 3 little dots. Yes. And you can click on that, Carol will just show them, and you need to zoom out. If you have a zoom of 100%, you just need to go to 90 or 80%. As you can see, the screen for Carolyn is changing now, right? So if you need to zoom out a bit, a little trick of the trade.
There you go.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And the interesting thing, as Sophie was mentioning, is that you've got the group name that does appear and the group code. So either way, you can go like that.
Yeah. One last question just popped in. Interesting if you weren't there at the beginning or you missed out on certain things. Students will not be able to access anything if you as a teacher do not create a group and have these students join your group. So this is very different from last year. Last year, they could go off on their own and open their account, which they cannot do this year. You have complete control on what you want them to, if you want them to have an access or not. Let's not forget, if you don't make this access available, they won't be able to go on the exercising platform. But yes, they will have access to their workbook, but not the autocorrection of the workbook. So if they have the paper copy from home from school to home, or the e-copy, they still have access to the workbook, right? But they don't have access to the answers. That's about it, Carol. Thank you.
Good. I see that we have about 10 minutes left. So what I would suggest that we do is we go on to the last section, which you might be familiar with already if you've been with us during some of their workshops during the spring. Let me just go back to the entryway to give you an overview. So we mentioned that if you're onto your digital library, you have access to your different products. You'd be clicking on for example, numbers grade 3 over here, which is of interest. And then that's how you can access all of your documents. So if we look quickly over here on the left-hand side, I could go from workbook A to workbook B to the reference book. I could as well be able to go, if I go back to workbook B, for example, I could access extra documents or extra resources that accompany the actual workbook itself. So that might be different from digits to numbers to decimals. However, you're all going to find the section handouts for all of the different series, and that could come in super handy if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it. If you click on handouts, that's going to give you access to your weekly planning. It's going to give you access as well to reinforcements activities or evaluations. If we just take a look really quickly to one of the reinforcement activities, for example, over here, or any reproducible for that fact, you've got the answer key available to you. You've got the reproducibles available in PDF, and you've got it as well available in Word. So that's interesting in Word because you can actually make modification if you need to. If you've got a student that's struggling with some math concept and you want to go over it and you want to switch up a couple of things, you could do so really easily. To go back to the opening page, remember at all time you can use the tool bar at the left top corner of the screen. So it will allow you to go back, for example, over here to the entryway. You could as well select your book from A to B to the reference book. You could select the little pochette over here, the folder, which brings you to all of the extra resources that you have access to. Group management, which we've already seen. And something brand new this year, you have access to what we call espace de manipulation. That would be for all of our math products from grade 1 to grade 6. It is currently in French. However, it's going to be translated in the next few months, so most probably by the end of the fall. Let's just take a quick peek at it. If we click to Espace de Manipulation, that's basically what we used to have back in the days, and about 2-3 years ago with the latest platform. It allows you on the pick list over here to decide which concept you'd like to work. So from arithmetics to geometry to measures to stats and probabilities. So for example, if we take the arithmetics, then if you want to take the blocks of 100, for example, if you click on it, then it allows you with the little bomb over here to make it explode. And then you could do it again in regards to the hundreds and make it tenths or units as well. If you want to glue all of that back, you could just select it and click on the glue stick over here. So those are all different tools that you can actually just work around and have fun with it. In regards, for example, to geometry, you've got solids that you could use. As I mentioned, it's going to be translated, but as of now, for example, you'd have it presented like that or made available to you like that. You could as well run a little video on unfolding the item itself by clicking on play over here, and then the little video just opens up and makes it easier for the kids to really understand how it's formed and how it is actually structured. So a few tools available to you. We wanted to make sure that you had access to those, even though it's in French for the beginning of the school year. So at least you could use it and use it in the classroom with your kids. If we take a look really quickly in the workbook, so if I enter within workbook A, for example, if I click on open, different tools are made available to you, and really to navigate it is super easy. So as you can see, it actually opens it up to the last page onto which I was when I last opened up numbers 3. So in workbook A, I was on page 7. If I want to switch page, then I can just go on the top right-hand corner in the square and then write the page number onto which I want to go next. So for example, page 12, and then I press enter. I could as well use the arrows just beside the page itself. So the left arrow would be to go to the previous page, or the right arrow to go to the next page. And lastly, I could just use on the left-hand side over here, the little pictures that I've got here of the workbook itself. As you can see, when you're in the workbook, you will see appear these little green folders over here. So if I'm on that page 13, you'll see that I've got a folder. If I go on to page 14, it disappears. That just means, if I go back, it just means that you've got extra documents or resources that you can consult. So if I click on it, it just opens up over here. So I can actually consult those documents at that specific time of the year. Remember, prior last year, you used to have little pictograms here and there that were telling you, oh, you've got a video, or oh, you've got a document that you can print out. We've taken all of those and we've put them in that folder, making it so much more easier to consult. The other interesting thing is that, see, it actually proposes to use interactive exercises and games. When you have a document that is made available automatically to your students, it will say student material. So it is something that you know your kids have access to. So if they've created an account and they join your group, then they have access to that. The other thing that I want to bring up to you would be when you go to correct a page, something that was asked for a couple of months, which is showing answers one by one. So for example, over here, I've got no answers in the pick list at the top of my page. But if I select in the pick list answers one by one, then I can just click onto my page and then the answers will appear. If I click back onto it, the answers will disappear. Because I've created a group and I have some students in my group, I am able to share answers. So I could share that page, that answer key page with my students. So if you have, for example, some iPads or whatnot, and you want for them to be able to autocorrect themselves, then you could just share that. You could share it within a group. So I had my customized group, or I had my group that was generic. I could share it with the whole group, or I could select whichever student I want to share it with. So for example, Sophie was absent today. She had a doctor's appointment, and I want to make sure that she gets the answers because we have an evaluation. Then I can just share that with her, and then she goes into her own copy and she'll be able to see the answers. Okay. The other fun thing in regards to the new platform are all of the tools at the bottom of the screen. Different tools that are made available to you. So you can click beside the arrow, the pen. You can select whichever color you want. So for example, red, I can circle, I can write. I could select the highlighter as well. Pick the color that I want, just use it. If I go back to a page, or if I close my session and I come back to it, I will be able to have everything that I've saved up onto my page will be shown again. If I want to erase some of those information, we do have just beside the eye over here, the eraser, which is brand new. I'm really happy about it. You click on it and then you just select whichever section you want to see disappear. As well, for any reason, if you want to hide some of the underlinement that you've done, you could click on the eye at the bottom in regards to the tools at the bottom of here. If I click on the eye, you'll see that the underlining will disappear. But if I want to show it again, I click back on the eye and then it just shows back. So got a little glitch over that one, but it just shows back usually. If I want to erase everything in the page, I could just beside the eraser, I could select the garbage bin, and that will ask me, what do you want exactly to erase in that specific page? So I would like to erase the pencil marks, the highlighting, the notes, and the added text that I did. So I would click on delete. Talking of the added text, you could click, if you look at the bottom of the screen, the tool menus, what looks like a T, that would open up a text box if you want to write text. You're able as well onto what looks like a post-it, a little bubble over here. If you click on it, it opens up a virtual post-it, and then you can just write whatever. You can make it whichever color you want. And then when you close the window, you can actually just drag the post-it wherever. That could come in handy if you want to have color-coded notes for yourself when you're planning. So for example, anything that's in red, it's something that I want to take a look with my kids when I'm in the classroom, or it is just a personal note, something that I don't want to forget on that specific page. If we take a look at the very last tools, again, at the bottom of the screen, you would have as well, beside the garbage bin, the plus. The plus will allow you to add or personalize your digital version by adding documents, so PDF or Words, adding as well extra websites, for example, or you could add a audio note. If you click on the audio note, you'll see that you have a length of 3 minutes max that you could record, and it's linked to the specific page. That way you could as well share those extra documents or information or vocal notes to your students. If, for example, you want to make that bigger as well, because you're in the classroom and you're saying, that number 2 there, I can't see much. You can just click on what looks like a magnet, like a magnifying glass over here. Click on it, and then you just select whichever section of the workbook you want to make bigger, and then it just zooms in. If you want to zoom out, same thing, you just go back to the magnifying glass, and then you click on the minus, and it just brings it back to the specific page. You would have the chance as well to make that appears in one page. So from the start, that's what we give out as a view. You could click on the number 1 and then display it for 2 pages. That could come in handy, especially with the younger kids when they have difficulty knowing exactly what page are we at. Yeah, you've got the page at the bottom, but it's not really what I'm looking at. So that could come in handy as well to select the 2-page display. If you want to make it in such a way that it actually is taking the whole page, you could click on the 4 arrows that you've got beside the 1. It makes it bigger, less information. All of the tabs have disappeared. If you click back, you'll see that the tabs that I have opened up will reappear. And last but not least, remember when I said that you can share answers, you can go within a copy of your students' workbook if they've added notes, made drawings, or whatsoever. That's the last item over here. And that will appear only if you've created a group. So if I click on it, I can select whichever student. So for example, if I go into my group customized, then I've got all of my students over here. And remember, we were in Sophie's copy earlier. So if I click on Sophie, then I can see on our page, I think it was page 7 that we were in. She had drawn a little something, so I can just see what she drew. If she had written, then I could definitely see what she had written down as information. So that's a way for me as a teacher to actually see the digital version of my students if for any reason they have to be absent. It's a lot of information today. I hope that's going to give you a good start for the beginning of the school year. We are still available if you have any questions. And at any time and point, you can go at the top right-hand corner and click on the Help button. What is super interesting is that you'll find a guided tour of the platform, you'll find video tutorials, and you'll be able as well to contact the technical support team. So we've taken a look at the different tools made available to you within the platform and how to use them in the classroom. We've seen the add-on of the espace de manipulation. Do we have any questions in regards to that specific section, Sophie?
Yeah, a few things. Actually, I just want to go back on something. I think it was very important. And unfortunately, I was trying to read the questions and answer the questions. I'm not sure if you've mentioned it. You probably did. But for parents at home, if you've created a group and you want to share the information with the parents at home, I did put the document, the parent document, in the Q&R. You can retrieve it there. We'll show you a little later, well, in a few minutes actually, where to pick it up on our corporate website. But there are three key information that you need to share with every parent for their child. They need to have the group code, they need their username, and they need their password. And you can join that document aside in each email that you're going to be sending. So this way they can just follow the instruction on the document, but they do have right on hand those three key information that they need. So you don't need to print out those documents. That's one thing. And a few people asked me how to zoom on a page. Can you just go back and show you
sure.
the magnifying glass real quick? Thanks.
We went really quickly. So we are currently in a group, okay, just to show you what Sophie was mentioning. So how to access the student name, username, and the password, and how to access your group code at the bottom left-hand corner. If you want to go back to the workbook, remember, top left-hand corner, you just need to go onto the actual menu over here, click on number or whatever series you're using, and then click on the workbook itself. So I'll use workbook A over here. And we'll go on to this page. This is a good example because it really is busy. So if I want to just focus on the E, for example, I would go at the bottom of the screen. I would select what looks like a squared and a magnifying glass with the plus, okay? Click on that. It actually appears kind of blue. And then I just, with my mouse, drag whichever section I want to make bigger. And there you go. And then it actually allows you as well to use the pen on the underliner to do whatever you want directly on the board or using your computer. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Carol. And we don't have any more questions.
Okay, so thank you for your time. I'm actually going to pass it on to Sophie, who's going to show you really quickly how to get access to some of super important information for the next few months. And we'll stay behind if you have any other questions.
Thank you. So we'll get to your questions right after this. So important information that you may want to access quickly would be on our corporate website. ERPI.com would be the link. As you can see, we are now part of the Transcontinental Media Group. So you do have ERPI and Chanela Education and other publishers that you can access directly from that website. However, if you want to go get a few important information, you need to go to just elementary, kindergarten, and elementary section, and you scroll down. The important information you have right here on the left-hand side would be online training, the I+ interactive platform, which would be today, the training we have today, and we have high school workshop tomorrow. Purchasing order and price list. I did put a link to the price list in the Q&R just in case. But if your administration hasn't ordered your 12-month access codes yet, please refer them to this section or copy that link I put in the Q&R. And last but not least, on the right-hand side, if you have students that need special support, WordQ, Lexibar, they need the workbook read to them, you need to go to Digital Books Readable by Text-to-Speech Synthesis. So they'll tell you exactly where to go, which document to complete to receive a copy for those special students. Last but not least, if you click on the help button and you scroll right into the preschool and elementary, the I+ interactive section, we click on that. And we've got key information you may want to see right here. The first one would be technical support, which is real quick. The second one, watch video tutorials. So anything we've seen here today, you might want to have a sneak peek with the tutorial, but we did record this session, so you will receive a recording in a short while. Last but not least, if you want to download that parent document I linked in the Q&R, here it is. You can retrieve it right there. And at the very bottom of our, go back.
Sorry.
At the bottom, no problem. At the bottom, contact us if your administration hasn't received their orders or want to place an orders, they need to look into billing, please contact us with the information on the left-hand side. Technical support, Caroline showed you that you can access it with the question mark on the upper right-hand corner on your platform, but you can go on the corporate website to access. And last but not least, if you're looking for your consultant who takes care of your school board, well, you can certainly have a sneak peek here at Find Your Sales Consultant. For the moment being, if you do have questions that may remain unanswered through this workshop and even a little bit after this workshop, please feel free to contact Carolyn or myself, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So for those who need to leave and don't have any questions, we wish you a wonderful school year. Take care, and please, we're just an email away. Feel free to contact us anytime.